The third-party delivery controversy rumbles on. Welcome to today's edition of Inside AB. I'm Jeremy Lawrence and I'm joined here in the studio by Eddie Taylor. Okay, Eddie, we had a piece in Arabian Business 2 or 3 weeks ago by Ohon, CEO of Freedom Pizza, where he had some very forthright views about third-party delivery services.
Yeah, he basically came out and was quite accusatory about the whole space and saying that these third-party delivery solutions that aggregate menus and delivery options and provide delivery solutions to restaurants are actually parasitic, that they take too high a margin, the contracts are too aggressive, there's an imbalance in the relationship, and too many restaurants are kind of frightened to say it because they feel they need the service. So we actually went back to a couple of these third-party aggregators and delivery companies and asked what they thought.
In the interests of
balance, of fairness, fair.
Okay, so you spoke to Anis Harb, regional GM of Deliveroo.
Yeah, I mean, the Deliveroo is probably one of the big ones in the space, really. They launched here in 2015. It's a British company originally. What their USP is offering restaurants that don't have any delivery component the complete solution, so they can focus on preparing great meals. And these are the kind of places that you wouldn't necessarily think have a delivery option. So, kind of upscale restaurants in DIFC, for instance. But they provide the whole thing, from the interface to the online tech piece to the delivery solution, even consulting on packaging and things like that. So he was basically quite bullish about it, saying we've signed up 2,000 restaurants. He said between 500 and sort of 1,000 had never had a delivery solution before, and of that 2,000, only a handful, less than 5, he said, have dropped out. So it can't be so onerous if that's the dropout rate. Okay,
so quite an emphatic response there. Yeah. These third parties, such as Deliveroo, they're not just delivering food now, are they?
No, I mean, I think he talked about Aggregators 1.0, which is kind of things like Zomato and Talabat that are basically offering a website that kind of pulls all of these restaurants together and gives them a wider platform and a wider reach. He describes Deliveroo as 2.0, which is offering the complete kind of tech solution and a delivery solution. And they've added on to that now with their thing called Editions, which is basically these kind of bespoke kitchens in remote locations, so like JLT, for instance, which is offering restaurants from downtown and DIFC and Jumeirah the ability to access customers in the Springs, in the Marina and places like that. So it's offering them kind of a new place from which they can prepare their meals that's doubling the potential for their customer base.
So they want to be a really integral part of the whole ecosystem of restaurants and how they deliver food.
Yeah, I mean, what they're saying is that this is the way the industry is going. More and more people are ordering food online and eating high quality food at home, and they're just giving more and more restaurants the ability to deliver that, to meet that need.
Okay. Now the next point I think is the most interesting. When we spoke to Jason Droege, typical sort of Tech Valley job title, is the head of Uber everything. Yeah. So his job is everything to do with Uber apart from moving people around. And he talked about the data aspect of this, which I think is where this gets really interesting.
I think this is the key thing. I mean, actually, that was initial part of Ian Ohan's criticism, that a lot of these companies are harvesting all this data and using it, aren't really sharing it with the restaurants.
But talk about what this data is.
Yeah, I mean, the data is basically who's ordering what, where they're ordering from, what kind of restaurants are popular, what aren't, and also what areas are underserved by particular restaurants. I mean, the really interesting thing is that Uber was basically approached by one group that wanted to open a restaurant, and they actually came up and said, well, this particular area doesn't have a really great pizza restaurant or is underserved by pizza delivery. So they launched something called Project P, that's now a pizza restaurant that's offering this particular food type in this particular area, and that's all driven by the kind of data that Uber Eats was generating.
And this data is going to get more and more complex. They're going to have more solutions for mining that data to find out user trends.
Then we get into the field of AI, artificial intelligence, all of this kind of machine learning that's going to harvest this data, process it.
Which a company of that size can do.
I mean, these aren't food delivery companies, these are tech logistics companies. So the tech logistics part is going to rely on data to keep driving it forward.
So what we're saying then is that Ian Ohan had a point, it's what happens to that data. But you can't escape the fact that these restaurants in the future are going to need that data.
I mean, I think the most important thing is that whether everybody in the space would agree is that all of this stuff is driven by customer demand. And you have to reflect that customer demand, and then using data will understand what that demand is, and you have to be responsive and agile and meet it.
Okay, great. Well, is that the end of the third-party delivery controversy? Let's see. But it's been fun so far. So please do join us every day at 10 a.m. and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please do join in, comment and share below, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Thanks.